under Professor.
Go ahead.
Under Professor Dr. Farah Aini Abdallah, and my co-supervisor is Dr. Muhammad Hafiz Muhammad. The title of our topic today is Modify Deterministic Modeling for TB Infection. The table of our content include the introduction, motivation of the study. We have the literature review, research questions, Then we have about 5 problems to be solved. Our first problem is to develop a basic model of TB. Then our second problem is to develop a TB model with the influence of public health education and hospital treatment. And our third problem to be solved our third problem to be solved is the influence of vaccination, an imperfect vaccine into TB model. Then the fourth problem is the incorporation of saturated treatment into the model. And the last problem is the optimal control problem. As we all know, tuberculosis is a disease of the lung, and it's a bacterial infection disease caused by Mycobacterium TB, affecting mostly the lungs, and it can also affect other organs like the kidney and the central nervous system. According to World Health Organization report, there are about 1/3 of the world population infected with TB, with millions of deaths as well as millions of new cases of infection each year. The report confirmed that TB is one of the top 10 causes of death worldwide, which can be demonstrated with this diagram. This diagram is showing us that the TB is one of the most causes of the day, about 1 million of deaths. Not everyone with TB disease becomes sick. As a result, we have 2 TB-related conditions: the latent TB infection and the TB disease. It is only individuals who have the active TB can transmit the disease. The latently infected individuals do not spread the bacteria. Generally, there are 3 types of medical interventions for treating TB: treating latently infected TB individual to prevent the endogenous reactivation, treating active TB patients, and vaccination to reduce the TB epidemics. Our motivation: as far as it is known, no scholar has investigated the dynamics of TB model incorporating different dynamical features as presented in this study. This research therefore seeks to develop a deterministic model for TB infection in the presence of reinfection, public health education, and hospital treatment, and imperfect vaccine, saturated treatment, and optimal control. The findings of this research may help to explain the real situation of TB infection. It will predict about the behaviors of the TB infection, incorporating different dynamical features. Literature review. Literature review. There are several literature reviews of TB. but due to the limited time that we have only three here. The first one here is Nkamba 2018, who developed and analyzed the dynamical behavior of deterministic model of TB with vaccination and contact rates. They observed that the vaccination coverage is insufficient to control TB and that the effective contact rate has a significant impact on TB spread. Jiang et al. 2019 used a mathematical model of TB to investigate the impact of health education and early therapy. They discovered that both health education and early therapy have a strong impact on TB reduction. Fatima and Mishra developed a mathematical model of TB with an early treatment for latent patients and treatment of infective as a control strategies in reducing the TB. Their finding demonstrated that the control lowered the effective reproduction number to less than 1. Additionally, it was demonstrated that the early TB treatment is more beneficial in reducing the spread of TB infection. This is our research question. This study aims to address some of the key mathematical and epidemiological questions. Number one, how many equilibria does the basic model exhibit and what type of bifurcation will the system experience? What is the role of public health education and hospital treatment to eliminate TB or at least to reduce its prevalency? And how can we determine the most influenced parameter in the dynamical behavior? What is the impact of an imperfect vaccine on the transmission of TB disease? What is the dynamical behavior of TB with saturated treatment? And the last one is what is the impact of personal protection, chemotherapies, and treatment strategy to eradicate TB? Research aim and objective. The main aim of this study was to design and analyze a various deterministic model transmission dynamic of TB infection. To succeed the aim of this research, the following objective will be achieved. These include, number one, to develop a basic SEIR TB model and qualitatively analyze. The basic SEIR TB model will then be extended to include public health education and hospital treatment. To develop a TB model that incorporated an imperfect vaccine. To develop TB model with nonlinear saturated recovery. To formulate an optimal control strategy for TB model based on personal protection and chemotherapy of exposed and treatment of infected individuals. Methodology of this study include the formulation of the model by using a compartmental approach. The basic reproduction number of TB model is calculated by employing the next generation matrix approach. The existence of conditions of both disease-free and endemic equilibrium point of TB model are obtained. The theory of the stability analysis is to use to explain the qualitative behavior of the proposed model. The global stability of equilibrium point of TB model is studied by constructing suitable lipovolume functions. The proof of existence of backward bifurcation and transical bifurcation is determined by employing the center manifold theory. A whole bifurcation of TB model is illustrated by taking the saturated recovery and some of other TB parameters as bifurcation parameter. And then lastly, the theoretical result of TB model are shown numerically by using MATLAB and XPath. Our basic model. This is the first problem. Their first objective, the basic SEIR TB model. We have the model formulation here. In this section, we develop a mathematical model for TB infection. The total population represented by N is divided into 4 compartments. We have susceptible individuals who are not infected, but they have the chances to catch the disease. Exposed individuals are those who have been infected but do not show TB symptoms, do not show TB symptoms and are not capable of infecting others. Infectious individual, these people represent those individuals who are infected with TB disease, and the recovered individual represent those individuals who have recovered after infection with a temporary immunity. The total population denoted by N is given by N equals to S plus E plus I plus R. The schematic diagram for the transmission of TB infection is given in figure 1. This is our schematic diagram. S here represent the susceptible infection. Then we have, this is the standard, we have the transmission rate here, which is in form of standard incidency. The arrow going to E is the transmission between the X and E. E is the exposed class, I is the infectious class, and R is the recovered class. There is pi, capital Pi coming to S, it corresponds to the recruitment rates. In susceptible class, there will be natural die of TB. Mu represent the natural death of the disease. K represent the incubation period. And we have mu here, which D here, which represent the death due to disease. Those that died due to TB disease. Omega here represent the recovery rates. And this recovery compartment, those in recovery compartment, they have recovered, but there is still some disease, there is still bacilli disease on them. That is why they were able to go back to the exposed class. The sigma represent the infection, the risk of infection, the reinfection parameter. Sigma represent the reinfection parameter. This is our model. The first equation here represents the dynamical behavior of the susceptible class. The second equation here represents the dynamical of exposed class. The third equation here represents the dynamical behavior of the infected class. And the last equation represents the dynamical behavior of the recovered class. The equilibrium points. To study the dynamical behavior of system model 1, we need to find the equilibrium point first. Two equilibrium points are considered: the disease-free equilibrium and the endemic equilibrium points. The disease-free equilibrium point is when the infected class is equals to 0, and the endemic equilibrium point is when the infected class are not equals to 0. To achieve this, system 1 was set to 0, and then the value of SEIR were determined analytically. The first one is the disease-free equilibrium, which is pi all over mu is the susceptible class. Then the 0, 0, 0 here are the infectious class, which always exists. Endemic equilibrium, the number 2 represents the endemic equilibrium. The third is the basic reproduction number of the basic reproduction number of this epidemiological system 1, which was obtained by using the next generation methods, is given as follows. This equation 2 represents our basic reproduction number, and this basic reproduction number is an epidemiologic measure of the average number of secondary cases generated by a single infected individual in the population of susceptible individual. Epidemiologically, if R0 is less than 1, the system always tends to the disease-free equilibrium point. Likewise, if R0 is greater than 1, the system tend to the endemic equilibrium point. Numerical simulation. Our system on the model 1 undergoes the transical bifurcation. And transical bifurcation occurs when disease-free equilibrium, when there is exchange of stability between the disease-free equilibrium and endemic equilibrium. R0 here played an important role in epidemiology. If R0 is greater than 1, R0 less than 1 ensures the elimination of the disease, but R0 greater than 1, if R0 is greater than 1, there is disease in the, there is a disease in endemic, there is endemic disease disease are still in the population. BP here represent the transical bifurcation at R0 equals to 1. There is 2 steady state here. Stable endemic, the upper region here represent the stable endemic equilibrium, and the lower region here represent the disease-free equilibrium, which can be stable or unstable. This is demonstration of the system 1, showing the behavior of an individual when R0 is less than 1 and when R0 is greater than 1. In this situation, in this situation, when R0 is less than 1, when R0 is less than 1, there is no disease in the population. And when R0 is greater than 1 and there is disease-free equilibrium in the population. Disease is stable, and disease is globally asymptotically stable. And when R0 is greater than 1, the disease is unstable. The disease-free equilibrium is unstable, and there is endemic equilibrium. Our second problem is the influence of public health education and hospital treatment on TB model. In this contribution, the following TB model with influence of public health education and hospital treatment is formulated and analyzed. The first equation represents the dynamical of susceptible individual. The second equation here represents the dynamic of individual who know how represent the dynamic of public health education. The third equation here represents the dynamical behavior of exposed individual. And the fourth equation here represents the dynamical of individual who are infected with TB, but they stay at home. The fifth equation here represents the dynamical of behavior of individual who have been infected with tuberculosis and are under treatment in the hospital. And the last equation describes the dynamic of recovered individual. In this equation, the parameter pi here represents the recruitment rate into the susceptible population, and the lambda here represents the force of infection. The parameter piece here represents 2 education parameter, that is the awareness rate. We have the small v here, which represent the rate at which those who are educated and they know about this, they know how TB is spread, and they know the sign and symptom of the disease. Is the rate at which the public health education progress to exposed class. They will progress to exposed class, but with the low rates. K1 here represent the rate at which exposed move to I1, move to infected class. Those that have TB but they stay at home. While K2 represent the rate at which exposed individual progress to the hospital, and mu is the natural death rate of TB. In the fourth equation here, tau here represent the rate at which those staying at home progress to the hospital. Gamma 1 here represent the rate at which infected individuals staying at home recover. Mu here represent the rate of TB natural death of TB, and D1 represent the rate at which individuals staying at home die due to TB. Gamma 2 represent the rate at which exposed. Gamma 2 represent the rate at which individual receiving treatment in the hospital progress to recovered class. This is the progress to recovered class. While delta 2 represent the death rate due to individual receiving treatment in the hospital. This is the relationship between the parameter, education parameter, the eta correspond to the rate at which individuals staying at home progress to hospital. K1 represent the rate at which exposed individual progress to I1, which represent individual that are staying at home. K2 represent the progression from the exposed class to progress. K2 represent the rate at which exposed class progress to hospital.
Hello?
Hello?
Go ahead.
The first figure here represents the behavior of Arnold by varying the education parameter. And as you can see from the figure, that this education parameter, the basic reproduction number has reduced as the education parameter is increasing. So this education parameter has a positive impact in the dynamic of TB model. We have this eta represent the rate at which infected individuals progress to hospital. And so we can see the effective reproduction number has reduced as we increase the rate of individual who progress to the hospital. The third graph here represent the rate at which the infected individual, the behavior of expected basic reproduction number by varying K1. This K1 represents the rate at which exposed individual progress to infected class, those individuals that stay at home. As we can see, basic reproduction number is increasing as we increase the K1, which means that this parameter has a negative impact in the transmission of TB. While K2 represents the rate at which exposed individual progress to the hospital. And this one also shows a positive impact on the dynamic of TB. Here, our third problem is the influence. We incorporate the influence of an imperfect vaccine on TB. Vaccination reduces the infection. And what we mean by an imperfect vaccine is a partial protection. It means that it does not protect all immunized individuals. So in this contribution, the following TB model with influence of an imperfect vaccine is formulated and analyzed. This is the equation. This one is the equation for the model with an imperfect vaccine. Then the numerical simulation of the model with an imperfect vaccine. There is a contour plot here. This figure shows the contour plot of effective basic reproduction number as we vary the number with two parameters. These two parameters as we vary two parameters. That is the function of vaccinated individual at the disease-free equilibrium and the vaccine efficacy. This contour shows a marked decrease as we increase the vaccine efficacy as we increase the vaccine efficacy and the vaccinated individual at the steady state. At the steady state. So the high value of vaccine efficacy and the fraction of individuals vaccinated at the steady state are needed in order to control TB in a population. That is for us to achieve R0 less than 1. There is also occurrence of backward bifurcation diagram in the system in the model with an imperfect vaccine. As we explained in the other section, that R0, when R0 is less than 1, ensures that there is elimination of disease. But when R0 is greater than 1, there is an endemic, the disease will spread over. But in case of backward bifurcation, this scenario is too complicated as basic reproduction less than 1 does not guarantee the elimination of the disease. In this model, there are 3 steady states which occur. In this figure, we have 3 steady states. The upper region represents the stable endemic equilibrium. The middle region here represents the unstable equilibrium. and the lower region represent the disease-free equilibrium, which is also stable and unstable. The impact of this figure shows the impact of vaccination on the infected individual. As we can see from this diagram, the low vaccine rates cause the force of infection, while the high vaccine rate reduce TB disease. It has reduced TB disease, but does not eliminate the disease. The influence of saturated recovery treatment on TB model. Saturated treatment is biologically more feasible for the region with medical limited resources. A saturated treatment is used to highlight the situation of infected person who get delay in treatment. Therefore, in this section, we incorporate the saturated treatment into this model. In this contribution, the following TB model with the influence of saturated treatment is formulated and analyzed. The first equation represents dynamical behavior of the susceptible individual. The second equation represents the dynamical behavior of exposed individual. And the third equation here represents the dynamical behavior of infected individual. As we can see here, this term represents the saturation treatment to the infected population. C, the recovery. C represents the recovery parameter, and the omega here determine the magnitude, the size of the impact of the delay of treatment of the infected individual. This is the finding from the TB model with the impact, with the influence of saturated treatment. We have there is the occurrence of one parameter bifurcation diagram of exposed individual with respect to transmission rates. As we can see from this diagram, there is occurrence of different dynamical behavior in this system. We have LP, which correspond to saddle node bifurcation, and there is BP here, which correspond to transical bifurcation. We also have subcritical hub bifurcation, which occur at around 1.05. There is occurrence of SLC, which correspond to stable limit cycle. The green line here represent the stable limit cycle, and the blue line here represent the unstable limit cycle. As we increase the transmission rates, there is occurrence of LPC, which correspond to saddle node bifurcation of a cycle. This saddle node bifurcation of a cycle occur when the SLC and ULC collide. The red point, this red point is a place where the stable limit cycle and unstable limit cycle collided, which lead to the creation of LPC. There is oscillation. This figure represents this oscillation of susceptible individual. The blue color represent the susceptible individual. The green color represent, the red color represent the infected individual, while the green color represent the exposed individual. This figure represents the periodic solution. That is when the effective basic reproduction number is greater than 1. This implies that total number of the individual in population will sometime be increasing, or another time they may be increasing. This make it difficult to estimate. The size of the epidemic, because it make it difficult to estimate the size of the epidemic. This is the first diagram of S and high plane with different value of saturated recovery. In these figures, we can see that as we're increasing the saturated treatment, there is occurrence of 2 limit cycles. We have stable limit cycle and unstable limit cycle. The inner one here represents the unstable limit cycle, while the outer region here represents the stable limit cycle. Our fifth objective is the optimal control strategy on TB model. Optimal control strategies is a mathematical tools that we use to control infection disease. In this contribution, we extend the basic model in System 1 into an optimal control. To develop an optimal control strategy, we use the optimal control theory known as Pontryagin maximum principle by John et al. 2002. Our purpose here is to minimize the TB infection from the population, by minimizing the number of exposed and infected individuals by using the time-dependent control variable given below. Our first control variable is the effort to reduce the progression of exposed individual into infected class, that is the personal protection effort, the chemoprophylaxis treatment, this supporting the exposed individual with medication. Exposed individual who has been identified through testing and take this treatment can go direct to the recover class. Then we have the third control, the use of approved drugs for TB, which is the Mu3. The three approved drugs for TB include the isoniazid, rifampicin, and ethambutol. After incorporating the above controls, in the last section, in the last frame here, in the model System 1, we get an optimal control as this equation. The Mu1 here represents the personal protection, and the Mu2 represents the treatment for the exposed individual, while Mu3 represents the drugs that has been approved for TB. The optimal control variable here, Mu1, Mu2, U1, U2, and U3 minimize the objective functional subject to System 1. The objective functional is given as the objectional function is given as the integral, as the integral of 0 to t final. T final represent the time final, So in this equation 7, A bar 1 and A bar 2 correspond to the weight constant of exposed and infected individual respectively. Furthermore, in the objective functional, A3, A4, and A5 are the weight constant for the mu1, for the personal protection, treatment for the exposed individual, and the treatment for the infected individual. The term half A bar 3 and mu square 1, half A bar 4 and mu square 1, mu square 2, mu square mu A4, mu 1 square, and half A bar 5 mu square 2 1 describe the benefit and cost associated with the control variable U1, U2, and U3 respectively. The simulation, these are the numerical results from the optimal control. We have simulation here demonstrating the behavior of individual with control and without control. As we can observe from this figure, with control here, there is endemicity. There is an endemicity, and without control, there is disease elimination. From both this figure, without control, there is the disease spray over, and with optimal control, there is elimination of the disease. Our main objective here is to minimize the total number of the exposed and infected individual, which has been clearly shown from this figure. Here is the conclusions. The conclusion of this study. This study mainly focused on improving the deterministic model of TB infection to enhance a comprehensive understanding of its transmission dynamics by incorporating different dynamical features such as public health education and hospital treatment, and imperfect vaccine, saturated treatment, and optimal control aspect, resulted into a variety of new discovery. The contribution from this finding in this study are respectively given below. Number 1, development of basic SEIRE TB model that monitor the dynamic of susceptible, exposed, and infectious and recover individual. Development of TB model with influence of public health education and hospital treatment. Development of TB model with influence of an imperfect vaccine. Development of TB model with influence of saturated treatment, and the development of TB model with an optimal control strategy. The limitation of this study. This study has some limitation. Validation of the model is very important part of the whole model process. Once the model development phases are completed, model validation occurs. This study does not consider model validation because of the lack of access to real data of TB. Some of the publications during this study, these are some of the publications during this study, and here is the references, the selected references from the study.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You spent 45 minutes. Are you here?
Yes.
You spend 45 minutes, so which is very, very long.
I will try to adjust before tomorrow, inshallah. I will be practicing.
No, you just need to take note of certain things.
Okay.
You don't have 5 problems. As a PhD, you only have 1 problem, not 5 problems.
Okay.
The same problem is being divided. You are still working on TB, so you can't say you have 5 problems.
Okay.
Except if you have TB, HIV, malaria, then you can call them different problems.
Okay.
When you are introducing it,
yes,
like you have objective, you have main aim.
yes.
The rest will be, okay, we have the topic is this, the aim of this is this, and it's being divided into 5 subtopics.
Okay. Okay.
Is divided into 5 subtopics, not 5 problems.
Okay. It's being subdivided in. Sorry,
Is
doctor.
being divided into subtopics.
Divided
or 5
into
sections.
Into 5 sections.
Yeah. So namely, you can mention it.
Okay.
In the topic. Even instead of calling it, you have to go back to your slide. Have you sent this slide to your supervisor?
No.
Instead of calling it, wait, instead of calling it problem 1, problem 2, write the topic there.
Okay, because it carry a lot of, it has carry a lot of space there.
Just write the topics or summarize the topic. Maybe at this point is modeling of bifurcation. Yeah, just pick catchy word from that line.
Okay.
Don't put the whole topic there.
Probably should be the topic of the, should be the topic.
What do you call it?
Wherever there is, for example, where I write problem 1, I can say the basic TB model.
Yes.
Problem 2, TB model with influence of public health education and hospital treatment. The influence of TB model with an imperfect vaccine. The influence of TB model with saturated treatment. Then the optimal control. Okay.
So it will look more interesting.
Okay, thank you.
So put it there.
Okay, I will check. I will send it later.
I believe you yourself, you enjoy yourself. You can see. I noticed you noticed some of the mistakes. You are trying to calm down. So
I will be until I will not sleep today.
No, you need to sleep so that you can be refreshed.
Yes.
You understand?
Okay. Doctor, thank you so much. I really enjoy this slide where I do some of the things.
So you can see where you are coming in.
Yes.
So.
Okay. But doctor, all my explanation from this figure, did you understand what I was saying?
Of course, I do. Remember, in my own case, I know that.
Okay. Since you are also an epidemiologist, disease modeler.
So it might not be difficult for me to relate, but you need to say more to people in the medical.
Okay.
It is important, please.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm.
I hope that one is okay by you.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
So it's fine so far. At least you notice the error. I can also
Yes.
send you the link. Your presentation, I'll
Oh.
send you the link now. Once I end the meeting. So you can listen. You can listen to it.
Okay, I'm correct. I'm correct.
And from
Okay.
there, you will be able to identify where you make mistakes, and
Mistake.
you'll be able to see that okay, you made mistake here, you do this here.
Okay.
Any other thing?
No, doctor.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm very sure.
Okay.
But with all your explanation, I'll try to do some adjustment and try to do some rehearsal before tomorrow.
No, you don't need then you need to study some keywords. You need to know.
Okay.
Don't read from the slide.
Okay.
You need to study some keywords.
Yes.
Just know that okay, this place, this slide, this is what I'm going to say. Don't read it word from word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You can also give some statistics like you are doing. Go to slide 1, your first slide, where you under the introduction.
Okay.
Maybe after your presentation, you send this your BAMA to me. Your BAMA that you used to do your slide.
Okay. Okay.
The latex, right?
All right.
With the pictures. After your presentation, everything, both internal and external. Okay.
Oh.
How many people are coming tomorrow for the presentation?
It is only the people that my supervisor invited. Some of the students may come, will be there, and some may not be there.
Okay. Then get ready for their question.
I will.
The last one, you mentioned something about just go straight to the okay, at this place now you can easily maneuver yourself. If you have percentage, you can give percentage, you can write it down and say it. That okay.
Percentage
on, do you have percentage on Malaysia?
Of TV?
Yes.
I will have to search for it.
Please search for it because you are working in their country. You need to mention them.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to say it. Even your thesis, you have to include it.
Okay.
You can say, okay, currently in Malaysia, we have 30% of infections, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's it shows that you carry them along. Then you can mention Nigeria too.
Okay.
Because Nigeria sponsor you. If you are going home or without mentioning Nigeria, what will you happen? Do you get it now? So at this stage, if you look at the population of two prominent countries, Malaysia and Nigeria, you discover that tuberculosis is prominent in so area. In Nigeria, is 30% of patients has so. And in Malaysia, we have 20%. Just say something so that you really go deep.
Okay.
Make sure you mention that to country. It is very important.
Okay, I will check so that when I'm explaining this, I can tell them the percentage of TB in Malaysia and in my country.
Yes. So you can stop sharing. Take good care of yourself. I wish you good luck.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I truly